one of the keynote speakers was Titus Kaphar, a great new young African-American sculptor. He spoke about his sculpture in the Civil Rights Museum, and I was just thrilled to see it in reality. So that's one of our connections with that institution. Maria's right. City College is our flagship, and the faculty and classified professionals here do and administrators an extraordinary job. And love is the ingredient that holds everything together. But I would be remiss if I didn't thank your new leader, who took the college by storm and the district by storm and has done an absolutely outstanding job in his 1 year as president, and that is Dr. Ricky Shabazz. Where are you, Ricky? Now, I understand if he gets a little bit of encouragement, he'll join the dance troupe as well. Right. In fact, he's getting dressed now. The campus is also blessed with a number of other people whom I would like to acknowledge for their leadership. First of all, the Academic Senate has a new president, Jan Jarrell. Are you here? There she is. Following in the great traditions of Justin Akers, who did an extraordinary job. Thank you, Justin. Your classified Senate President for life, it seems, Awana Payne. Awana, thank you. Your new and very politically astute and committed student trustee and associated student president, Susie Molina Vivian. Susie? And your vice presidents, Denise Wisenhunt and interim vice president Manus Bradley. Thank you for all you do. And of course, I have another very special colleague who provides just exemplary leadership through his vision and connections, not only within our own San Diego Community College District and the lesser Grossmont Community College District, but then I'm going to say, but also at the state level with the California Federation of Teachers, and that is our very wonderful president of the AFT Guild, Jim Mailer. Thank you. There are two topics I want to share with you briefly, and we'll hear more about them during the course of the year. And the context for them is this. We're living in California, the largest state in the nation with the greatest population, with the fifth largest economy in the world. But our state is, it's like living in madness sometimes. It's very wonderful in its multicultural embrace and in some of its visions, but very immature in some of its activities. And that results in its main characteristic, which is change, constant, unrelenting change. It seems as though as soon as we arrive at one system of doing things, it changes in favor of another. And I'm hoping at some time the state will settle down and let us perfect some of the things that we're doing. Well, there are two big changes, one big change that is just coming about, having to do with the state budget and enrollment management. And I should say that that the California Community Colleges is the largest system of higher education in the United States. It's not a small institution that can turn on a dime. It's a large, gigantic, complex mechanism. But we are turning on another dime with a new state funding formula about which I'm sure some of you have heard. The state funding formula also changes enrollment management. And so I'd like to just give you this context very briefly, because we'll be dealing with this during the course of the year. The new funding model is predicated on the notion of performance-based funding as a major component of the funding. And there are good intentions behind that. The good intention is that student access through FTES is a good thing. It's a wonderful thing, but not the only thing. Student success and what we do to bring about student success is also important. Now, I don't believe that these are antithetical concepts. So the philosophy of doing better by our students is a good one. The rationale, however, is something which I and many others have questioned. And it's this: do we really need incentives to do better? Do we really need to be penalized if we have failures? I don't believe so. I believe that we simply need good research, guidance, resources, and as the late Queen of Soul would say, some RESPECT. And we will work to get there, because all of us are going to work on this. But here's what's going to be different under this year under the new model. The new model that no longer funds us 100% on the basis of FTES. It funds us this way: 70% will go for FTES, no longer having any rewards for growth or anything like that. 20% of our funding will now come from something that's called supplemental and equity factors. These are profiles of students, depending upon, in order to establish their financial needs, basically. And 10% of our funding will be on student metrics, outcome metrics, such as degrees and certificates, transfer rates, completion and transfer level English, transfer level mathematics, and other specific metrics. Now, you can imagine if I were suddenly here to announce that your salaries were no longer going to be allocated on a 100% basis, that you would get 70% of your salary, and the other 30% would depend upon how your students performed. You would think I was nuts, and I would blame Jim Mailer. And he, in turn, would blame me, probably. But that's basically what has happened. Because 30% of our funding now is based on something other than enrollment, you will see that we necessarily must shift our focus to that 30% to make sure we are well positioned to protect our institutions and do what we need to do to succeed. So under this new funding formula, which came about very quickly, so quickly that it's still a work in progress, and there are going to be other simulations run in the next few months, and so you will see those changes. So we will be working with without the additional range of classes that we used when we were pushing for growth. And we will be tightening up on some of the scheduling requirements. We did a great job last year. However, we did not reach our growth targets. I don't believe anybody in the state reached growth targets, with the exception of the Imperial Valley. And our effort to reach our growth was a costly effort, about $8 million or so. And so we'll have to recoup some of that coming up. I wonder, however, what would have happened if we hadn't pushed. We could have been underwater the way so many districts, over half the districts in the state, are. So we did a good job. We came out flat, and we are anticipating as a result that we will have a good, solid, strong budget. And we will also be able to have economic improvements for all of you, all of us, I should say, somewhere between 1 and 2%. So we'll balance out, and you'll hear more about that later. The second item I wanted to mention is the San Diego Promise. What a proud moment for us to be able to provide free education for our students, along with book grants, for students who are willing to make that investment in full-time studies. Our promise, San Diego Promise, has 3 funding sources. We have the Board of Governors fee waiver. We have the Assembly Bill 19, which is providing funding this for first-time, full-time students. And then we have major donations from people, from donors in the community, from all of you who have payroll deductions, and from companies and other sources. And so our Promise program has grown from 186 students a few years ago to 600 students. And now, are you ready for this? 2,732 students have signed up for fall. And we think that'll settle out to be probably about 2,200 in the end. But that's a 1,400% increase, and all because of generosity. Now, I'd like to do something. If you have a payroll deduction or have given money to the San Diego Promise, would you please stand? If you haven't as yet, you have the opportunity to do so, because this is a life-changing project for our students. And so thank you so much for all that you've done. In closing, I would like to say this. There's much more information to be shared, and most of it good news. And you have the opportunity to visit one of the Chancellor's Forums where the information will be shared. The Chancellor's Forum for City College will be on Tuesday, September the 18th, 2:30 p.m. in the Corporate Education Center. And as I've said on other occasions, the Chancellor's Forum is a completely voluntary meeting. But if you would like to keep your job, be in line for promotion, attain tenure, keep the tenure you just got, or be eligible for the salary increase I just mentioned, please do attend this forum. So let me end by thanking you for all you do, letting you know that this is going to be a strong and successful year for us, and I'm wishing you all the best. Thank you.
You know, we're so fortunate that we work in a district with a great board, a great chancellor, and great relationships with our union colleagues. And it's my pleasure to introduce Jim Mailer, president of the AFT Guild.
Thank you all. Thanks for your warm welcome. I only have good news to bring to you today, which is a good thing. Starting with membership, you guys all heard about the Supreme Court ruling that went down in June, and I'm happy to say that as a result of that, less than 6 people have dropped their membership, and we've signed up more than 60 over the summer, so that's been fantastic. And not only that, we are now 100% union membership among contract faculty at City College. So that is fantastic. That's a fantastic achievement. And that's due to the hard work of all of you, not just me, not just Jim, Kelly, Perla, the other AFT reps you have here at City College, but that's due to the work of all of us getting the message that together we're stronger, and if we start to, jump off the ship, we're going to become weaker, and the good gains that we've won over the many years are going to start to go away. So you guys all get that. You guys have all demonstrated that with your actions, and that's why we are where we are today. So just thank you so much for being the solid supporters that you guys have been. I really appreciate that. So that deserves another round of applause. It's so good. And because we have a strong union, we're going to be able to elect 3 new good board members this next fall. So one's not so new. Maria Senior, the indomitable Maria Senior from District A, will get reelected. I think it's going to be her like 25th term, right? Because she first ran, she was in the Child Development Center here. She was a toddler before they changed the election laws that you had to be 18. So she's been on the board ever since. And then in District C and E, both Rich Grosh and Peter Zishi are not seeking re-election, and they've been on the board for 16 years. So in District C, we have a professor of biology from Grossmont College, Craig Milgram, as our candidate. And in District E, we have David Alvarez, San Diego City Council member, as our candidate. So we're going to have a very solid board come November. Not that we don't now. We have a great board now. It's going to continue to be good. But I want to emphasize that these things don't just happen by luck. We have good, solid candidates, and we have a good board who have kept a great chancellor employed for the past 15 years because of the union and because of how strong we are and how we're able to affect these elections. So just to give you an idea of what can happen if we're not quite as strong, for those of you that haven't been around for 20 years and didn't witness firsthand how the board was before, to the year 2000, it was dicey in those times, but one of our opposition candidates, in his ballot statement, put how terrible of a job we're doing with student success and transfer, and how the budget is overinflated and there's no fiscal accountability, especially when it comes to employee salary and benefits. So that's in the person's candidate statement. So if you get one of those people on the board, even if they're only 1 out of 5, things start to change in a different direction, because we've had that. Maria's and I have experienced it, Constance experienced it when she was the president of Mesa. You just get one knucklehead on there, and it's a problem, right? So we're able to keep those people at bay because we have the ability and the resources to do that. But, you know, you guys, we all become accustomed to, you know, oh, yeah, it's not that big of a deal. The AFT, they always win. Their candidates always win. But a lot of work goes into that. You know, it's not just luck and happenstance that we get good people every round, and we keep good people, right, for the years. So that all, again, goes back to all of you guys. You guys see that value, and you see the value in having a strong union, and that's the results that we get from that, okay? The last thing, just to follow up on Constance's remarks regarding the funding formula, as you guys know, we lobbied super aggressively all last year to defeat that funding formula because we do not think performance-based metrics are a way to go and a way that we should base funding on. But, you know, it was a priority for the governor and a priority for the state chancellor, and they basically shoved it down our throats and got it as part of the budget deal. There was no legislation on it. There was no bill to kill. There was no one in the legislature that even supported it, right? It's just that the governor packaged it as part of the budget deal, so it couldn't really be carved out and defeated on its own unless you were the governor and had the line item veto ability, but only he does have that. So that's what we have to live with right now. So we're going to have some money this year. As Constance said, it's not fully baked yet. I'm hopeful that we'll get a little bit more than 1 or 2%, but we'll see how those numbers come out. But it's going to be positive. At least we're not getting cut. And I went to the state budget workshop up in Sacramento on Monday, and they really don't have an idea of, you know, what they're doing on this formula, that because as Constance has said, it's a complex formula and we're a large system and they're still trying to figure it all out. A couple of components of that new budget package is we're supposed to be getting $50 million statewide for new full-time faculty hires. So one of the things that I went to the budget workshop to find out was how is that going to be distributed, right? And they're like, well, don't look, you know, they give us these binders like with all these exhibits in them. Don't look through your binders for the $50 million allocation because it's not in there because we don't know how it's going to work yet. Okay, great. And then there's $50 million in one-time money for adjunct office hours, same thing. Don't look in your binders for that because we don't know how it's going to go out yet. So we're still even waiting to see how those monies are going to get distributed. So a lot's going to change this fall. It's going to be kind of a roller coaster. The good news is it's going to be positive in the end. How positive it's going to be, nobody is certain at this point in time. But we'll get something and hopefully be able to fund as many of the economic things as we can through a RAF agreement effective in January, okay? So thank you all. Thank you for sticking with the union. It's truly appreciated. Have a great semester. Thank you so much.
But I know our district colleagues are going to have to run out to Mesa, who's having their convocation at the same time. Next, I am pleased to introduce our newly elected, not so newly elected, taking office, President of the Academic Senate, Jan Gerald.
Welcome, everybody, and a special welcome to all of our new contract and adjunct faculty. I'm really honored to be your Academic Senate President for this year. I'm also honored to follow past President Justin Akers-Chacon. I really want to acknowledge his leadership in strengthening faculty voices, contract and adjunct faculty voices, and making our organization, the Academic Senate, even stronger. So thank you so much, Justin. I also want to acknowledge two outgoing officers, Sandra Pessy and Elizabeth Norvell, who served for the last couple of years and did an outstanding job. So thank you, Sandra and Elizabeth. All right. And welcome. This is your new executive team for the Academic Senate. And we have Masa Omai as our new treasurer and Mona Al-Suraimi as our new secretary. And the others are continuing with Jennifer Boots as part of our exec team, which we made as an executive position last year. So welcome to all of you, and we're looking forward to a great year. And I just wanted, sorry, on the last slide, I wanted to mention we do have a vacant position, which is our adjunct officer position. It's an elected position. Look for an announcement soon. We'd really love to have, a couple of candidates out there running and then joining us on the exec board. So just look out for that email. Thank you. Okay. So I just want to give a introduction and a reminder of these are the areas that the Academic Senate has purview over. And you can see we have a strong voice in all of these academic and professional matters. And as a result, we get involved in much of the decision making and planning that goes on in this campus. And we want to invite you to join us in these efforts because the more of you that get involved, the stronger that we can be and the more consensus we can have to make this campus even greater for our students. So please get involved, and this is how you can do it. Committee calls go out usually on Mondays and are due by Friday. And our committees are open to all adjunct and contract faculty. And one of our principles is equity, and we really do try to get as diverse and representative membership on all of our committees as possible. So please, please join us in these efforts. Also, come to our meetings. The first meeting is listed there. We meet bi-monthly on a Monday afternoon, 2:30. It's open to all of you to stop in, check us out. We'd love to see you there. And finally, I have the, you can also always ask to be on our agenda for the exec team. If you have an issue, a concern, an idea, and you just want to kind of hash it out with us and then see where it might go from there. So please reach out. We would love to hear from you. And finally, there's our website. Our Academic Senate assistant has recently updated it, so all of the meeting dates, the minutes, the agendas, everything is there. And we look forward to a great year of shared governance on this campus. We are very fortunate to have a great partnership with our administration under the leadership of Dr. Ricky Shabazz, and we really feel that this campus lives shared governance in a way that is an example to other colleges across the state. So thank you so much. Get involved, and let's have a great year.
Thank you, Jan, and we are going to have a great year. Next, we have an opportunity to introduce Awana, president of the Classified Senate. I just gave you a promotion, I guess. Awana, president of the Classified Senate.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Awana Payne. I'm a classified Senate president for 2018-2020. I also work in EOPS. And I also just took on a role of Southeast 1 area rep for our California Community Colleges Classified Senate, 4CS, which is a statewide classified Senate, which means I will, thank you, which means I will support all of the colleges in our area on classified Senate concerns and needs. Also on our board this year is Sean Ryan as vice president. Joan Taylor in the mailroom is our new secretary. And Terry Erbacher in admissions is our new treasurer. As you know, the Classified Senate is all about community, shared governance, and professional responsibility. Classified professionals work hard every day to ensure the students on campus have the resources needed to make City College the best it can be. We share updates during open meetings and newsletters to keep us informed and up to date on state initiatives. With that said, I hope we will all be patient and understanding with the onboarding of campus solutions, and will seek out the good in the system and help our students throughout the transition. In addition, in the next 2 years, Classified will be working diligently on bringing more professional development opportunities to classified and supervisors. And as always, we will continue to work well with students, administrators, and faculty to make City rock. If Classified can help your department or area, feel free to let a board member know. Our office is in C205A currently. Our phone number is extension 3240. We also have a website online. It's the City College homepage, /Classified Senate. Thank you for your time and have a great semester.
Thank you, Awana. Next up, our president of the Associated Students and student trustee, Susie Molina.
Thank you, President Shabazz. Okay, good morning and welcome to a new school year. My name is Susana Molina, but I go by Susie, the new president of the Associate Student Government. First and foremost, I would like to thank San Diego City College students for electing me as the Associate Student Government President. My pledge to them is to continue to advocate for them at the local, state, and national levels. Excuse me. And additionally, it's very important to me to thank my Emoja family for believing and supporting me. They inspired me to discover my why. Thank you for never giving up on me and for teaching me what community is all about. I'd also like to thank my student affairs family for empowering me to be successful in my ASG journey, from senator to Senate president to now the president of the Associate Student Government. It's been a long time coming, and I'm prepared to lead. I have learned throughout my journey at City College that it truly takes a village, and City College is my village. Last year, through the leadership of President Shabazz, we empowered our students to dream big, which we are still doing. This year, in addition to dreaming big, we are focusing on the ultimate student experience movement. Students will come to know that City College is more than just a stepping stone. Rather, it's a place where you belong, a home, a place to believe that there are no limits to what they can achieve. I look forward to this journey and to being an essential part of this transformational movement. Finally, I would like to ask each and every one of you a favor. It's a small favor, but it's one that is enormous. Would you guys please, the beginning of your first school year, allow students to know that they can become a member of the Associate Student Government, being that we are increasing our numbers and we would like to grow our membership. So can I get a yes, please? Thank you. It's very important to me, being that you guys are all the face of San Diego City College. So I greatly appreciate that, as well as the Associate Student Government. I wish you all a successful school year, and I look forward to seeing you all at our Associate Student Government events. Thank you and have an amazing year.
Next, I have the honor of bringing up Dr. Sophia Lauren, who has been serving as our professional development coordinator, who will introduce our guest speaker today. Sophia?
Thank you, President Shabazz, for generosity of your praise. One day, I hope to deserve it. So the topic of today's presentation is the imperative for racial equity. And this is extremely important subject, and it's a goal of every member of City College community. But how can we achieve racial equity in degree completion? What is powerful formula to transforming City College into an engine of equity? We are very fortunate today to have a keynote speaker with a profound knowledge and experience in this subject. So let's give a warm welcome to the founder and director, all the way from Los Angeles, director of Urban Education Center, Dr. Estela Ben-Simon.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Sophia. And all the way from Los Angeles, thanks to Amtrak. Okay, there's my PowerPoint. So when I give these special talks, I always struggle because it's very difficult for me to always give the same talk. So I write them anew. Often I also don't write them, I just speak, but for you today, I did write it up. And so in thinking about the topic that I was asked to speak on, they say that when you get older, the past becomes closer. And so what I'm showing you here is two of my high school instructors in order to illustrate a point that I want to make as context of my talk. When I came to the United States, I entered the 9th grade in New Jersey, Cherry Hill High School. And this high school was internally stratified in that every discipline had a different level. So there was, for English, there was level A for the really smart kids. There was level B for the normal kids, and level C for the students who were viewed as low performers, not very smart. Now, mind you, by the look of these pictures, I hope that you realize this is 1963, 64. So that's like 54 years ago. So I, being a non-English speaker, or at least I spoke English with an accent, just arrived from South America, I was automatically put on level C. And now the reason why I'm showing you these two photos is that the woman is, the teacher was Marcia Atran. Now, isn't that interesting that I can still remember her? And the reason why I remember her is because in my life, she was what I have described in my scholarly writing, an institutional agent. And what I mean by that is that she realized that even though I spoke English, and I still do, with an accent, that in fact I was a very good reader, because I had come from a very small town, a village in Argentina, where there was no television, there were no paved streets, so all I could do was read. And she also realized that I could write, so she used her power as a teacher, because teachers have power. She used her power to move me out of her class and put me on level B. And that small move that she made really changed the trajectory of my academic life. It's maybe one of the reasons why I'm here today, because what happened was that by the time I was a senior in high school, I had made it all the way to level A. Now, in contrast, there was Mr. Cavalli, who was my math teacher, and also level C. And I remember him as well, but for different reasons. Not because of math, but because of Mr. Cavalli, who felt that it was his responsibility to correct my pronunciation of English publicly in the class in front of everyone. And so whereas Marcia Atran was empowering me and making me feel efficacious, he was doing the opposite. He was making me feel very embarrassed, very self-conscious about my accent, making me want essentially to not speak, because by not speaking, then I avoided his corrections. So what I have, as I mentioned in my own writing, I have described instructors, teachers, faculty members like myself. By the way, I am a faculty member, and I'll tell you one thing. I am here today, and I am going to get into trouble because today my school, my dean, is holding convocation. And, and there is at least an implicit, if not explicit, expectation that all faculty attend. So I already posted in my Twitter that I am giving the convocation here, trying to kind of, make up for my absence. So these individuals, these two individuals, are what I call institutional agents, and this is a term that is used by sociologists to describe people like all of us, myself, President Shabazz, and many others. All of you here, we represent institutional agents. And the issue is that we can use our power as institutional agents to facilitate, or on behalf of others, to facilitate their success. And so you can see how powerful individuals like these can be, that I would still remember their names, and that I was motivated to look for their pictures. So this is a way in which I want to introduce my talk, which is going to be about equity-minded institutional agents, specifically for students who are not experiencing the same rates of success as white students. And I say this because essentially throughout the community college system and throughout the four-year college system, we have major inequities in educational outcomes that separate Latino students, Latinx students, and African American students, and also Native American students from their white and sometimes also Asian counterparts. We have persistent inequalities. And so I want to talk about that in relation to institutional agents. So what I would like to do, though, before I get going on this talk, is that I imagine that the same is true in your own lives, that there are individuals who have made a difference, who made it possible for you to be here today. So what I would like to do is I'd like you to turn to the next person next to you, or like this young lady's here, the president of the Student Association, and I guess her deputies. You could talk with each other and think about somebody who has been an empowering institutional agent in your life, and in what ways were they empowering. So just take a couple of minutes for that. Go.
Just let me know when you want to go to the next slide. Okay.
So you're supposed to talk about institutional agents. I see some of you taking selfies. Okay. So, shall we go back or come back? So did anybody come up with something? Okay, let me ask you this. Did anybody say that they did not have an institutional or an empowering institutional agent in their life? Anyone? You did. Yeah, you did not. Okay. And do you feel like you have missed something? So, okay, so in your mind, like, so yes, I mean, so in your mind, it's like this was on your own, right? That you can think it as memorable. Okay. Did anybody come up with somebody that's memorable in their life? Oh, who's screaming that? Yes. Elva Salinas. Is that somebody here at San Diego City? Okay. And how was she an institutional agent? Right. Okay. Any student? Yes. And who is Dr. Mel Kelly? Okay. And what? Why? Why? She saw you. And did you feel seen by all of your teachers? Or was that unique? So this is a really good point. So students want to be seen, they want to be heard, and they want to be valued. And that is part of what it is to be an institutional agent. And I'll come back to that. But one of the things that is happening here in California, besides the performance-based funding, is that in the new strategic plan, Vision for Success, are you familiar with the new strategic plan? Yes. So, and if you're not, it's very easy to read. But this new strategic plan delineates that within the next 10 years, the California community colleges will eliminate the equity gaps in completion, in transfer, and so on. So that in 10 years, and in some cases the gaps, for instance, between African American and white students can be sometimes as high as 40 percentage points. And the same thing with Latinos. So this is a big, big ask that we're going to eliminate these gaps within the next 10 years. And also the strategic plan delineates that we will increase transfer by 35% over the current baseline. So one of the things that you'll have to do here at San Diego City College, it's something that we have done with other colleges, is to actually calculate what that means in terms of 35% per group transferring to the UC system and to the Cal State University system. And I believe that to achieve, I believe in these goals, and I believe that to achieve them, that every single faculty member, every staff member, and every campus leader from, was it Jan or from the Academic Senate? I don't know whether I should say laterally or up to Ricky Shabazz, will need to be what I call an equity-minded institutional agent. Everyone. It cannot be left up to just, to counseling, to student services, under the able leadership of Dr. Wissenhurst. So one of the things that I want to say is that we cannot just rely on programs, whether they're big programs or small programs, to do the job. Programs, and you have many of them, and it was mentioned earlier, EOPS, you might have pathways, you might have, predictive analytics, tutoring programs, Umoja. They're necessary and important, but they're not always sufficient. And even though programs, and maybe here except Umoja, are well-intended, they are often left in the hands of individuals who are not prepared to address racial equity. They're not prepared because it's not something that is taught, right? It is not taught like computer science or math. And so I believe that as teachers and professionals, we often tend to place a great deal of responsibility for student success on students themselves. We expect our students, and tell me if this is true, to be self-directed. We want them to have goals. We expect them to seek help when they run into trouble in their courses. And we attribute the differences, the equity gaps that I mentioned, particularly for Black and Brown students, on their lack of academic preparation, their complex lives, and a multitude of other reasons. Now, obviously, I'm speaking here generally in terms of my experience in community colleges throughout California, but also in Colorado and in other states. So it is possible that what I say is not true here, but at least bear with me until I get to the end. So many of the reasons why we give for these equity gaps tend to pathologize students of color. And I'm not so naive that I would deny that the lives of first generation and low income students of color are complicated. Of course they are. They face many of the social and economic factors that put their success in college at risk. But we can't be complacent and resign ourselves to the idea that racial inequity is inevitable. So this is the reason why I have dedicated the work of the Center for Urban Education to supporting faculty, staff, and leaders become equity-minded institutional agents. And the reason for that is because even though often we talk about colleges as they were structures, faculty, staff, and leaders are the human side of colleges. Racial inequality, even though it is a systemic condition, not only in colleges, but in our nation, it is created and reproduced by the actions, sometimes inactions, of people acting as individuals and as collectives. We, together, we create and reproduce racial inequity, not in ways that are premeditated and intentional. We reproduce racial inequity because we lack the knowledge and experience and possibly motivation to reflect on our actions, attitudes, and beliefs from the standpoint of racially minoritized students. It's hard sometimes to put ourselves in the shoes of students who may not be like ourselves. It is even hard if you are a Latina or an African American. So I'm not saying that, you know, it's something that there are often differences, even if we are of the same racial or ethnic background. So we reproduce racial inequities because our decision-making, how we define quality, merit, what it means to be a good student, is usually based on an ideal that is white. Just this week, there was an article in Inside Higher Education about ice-breaking activities for the first day of class. And one asked students to list the ice-breaking activity it was an art history class, to list the European and Western artists, and to also list Latin American artists. And students could name many European artists, but when it came to the Latin American artists, they could only come up with Diego Rivera and Frida Kahlo. And so my point is that this is how we tacitly learn whiteness. Even though our community colleges are very diverse, whiteness is our cultural compass because that's how we have been socialized. And I don't say this to be judgmental or to suggest that I am free of this cultural reality. I say it only to describe the way that we have been taught, and because we have been socialized according to norms that do not recognize that whiteness is not the universal state of being, we do not reflect on our practices from the standpoint of race. So I think of myself as a good person who cares about these issues. I mean, I have a center that's dedicated to these issues, and I have some expertise. But I will confess that I too make mistakes and assumptions that often miss the racial dynamics among my diverse staff. I have a staff that includes white project specialists, African American project specialists, and Mexican American project specialists. And sometimes I miss the dynamics of that. I miss that my actions may be impacting the white staff differently from my staff of color. So we are not, as faculty members or staff and leaders, we're not in the habit of asking ourselves, you know, how is my classroom experienced by the very few Black students who are taking this course? And I imagine that that might be the case at San Diego City College, that in some courses you might have a critical mass of African American and Latinx students, but in others not. And so it's important to look at that density. We don't ask, why might it be that semester after semester, white students have higher rates of success than Latinos and Latinas? Or we don't ask, in what ways does my being white impact my relationship with students of color? These are the kinds of questions we do not ask of ourselves or each other, and they are definitely not the questions discussed at faculty meetings or even among the members of a president's leadership team. To be an equity-minded agent, you have to ask yourself these questions. To be an equity-minded leader, you have to create the conditions that normalize collective reflection on race. So I have used the term equity-minded, and you probably are wondering, well, what does it mean? So I will go to my next slide. So to be an equity-minded instructor, staff member, these are the kinds of characteristics that we have developed based on our own research and observations. So the first one is practitioner awareness of racial identity. You know, as I mentioned before, white tends to be the default. So when we think about racial identity, we typically think only of it being, you know, for people of color. So, but it is important for everyone to be aware of their racial identity. So I thought what I would do is, I have a colleague, actually he is an affiliate of our center. Some of you may have met him. He's a math instructor, James Gray, and I believe that he came here and worked with the math team that is working with the Center for Urban Education. And he recently wrote something about what to do in the first 3 weeks of class. And what he writes is the following, to talk about racial identity. It's my job to be race conscious, he writes, remaining neutral to or unaware of the racialized experiences students have within my course, my college, other systems of education and society allows education to reinforce oppression rather than to dismantle it. So he wasn't always aware of what it meant to be a white math teacher, but through the work that we do at the center, he has come to this point of realization. So the second thing is that this awareness of racialized patterns. So what do I mean by that? Is that when we are, particularly in the classroom, we need to be able to see who is in the classroom by race and ethnicity. Being colorblind or saying that I treat all students the same doesn't cut it. Because if you're treating students all the same, it means that you're not recognizing that race and ethnicity do create different realities. So it's important to look at, you know, where are students sitting? If you do group work and you tell students to get into their groups on their own, it is important to be conscious of what is happening to students of color in that class, particularly if there are a few of them. I am not suggesting that you should force students of color to not sit together. All I'm saying is to be aware of what the physical space of your classroom is. It's also important to be aware of things like attendance. In Colorado, we had math faculty code their grade book. They had all of their students by race and ethnicity, and we had them code for each student attendance, the passing grades in the first test, in the second test, and so on, so that they could see in their grade book the patterns, the racialized patterns of participation and performance. So I would say that it is important to also look at your data. And I believe that the math team here that is working with us is in fact doing that work. The third one is practitioner reflection on racial consequences of actions. So I gave the example of telling students to get into groups, and is that something that we do, right? And we assume that these are adults and they will do it. But I have heard students of color, some of them who are faculty members now, telling me how, in fact, I remember a chemistry instructor telling me how that, when that happened in his chemistry class in community college, nobody wanted to have him in their group because they made assumptions, right? Based on his race about his knowledge of chemistry. And so racialized dynamics can happen between students and instructor, but also among students. So it's really important to be conscious of that. The other thing in terms of racial consequences of actions are sometimes policies that we believe impact everyone in the same way, and we do not take into consideration that that might not be the case. For instance, this is a policy in Wisconsin, which was about guaranteed transfer from 2 years to 4-year colleges. And the students who were eligible for the guaranteed transfer, though, had to meet certain requirements that pretty much excluded students of color who were attending part-time, who might have needed to take non-credit developmental courses. Do you have an honors program here at San Diego City? Okay, so so that's a good example. I mean, I don't know what your honors program looks like, or what it is to, you know, how do you get into it? Did somebody want to say something about the honors program? Okay, great. So that's a good way of thinking about the consequences of decisions related to who gets access to a particularly good opportunity, right? But that's not the case in many institutions. The last one is, you know, what I call practitioner agency to produce racial equity. I believe that all of us have agency to produce racial equity, and that we need to learn how to do that. And obviously, I'm not going to be able to teach that in this talk, but it is what we're actually doing with a team that has been put together by Denise and Lillian Garcia. I don't know where Lillian is. Okay. And that team is a team of math faculty, I believe. And some of them might be here in the audience. And if you are here in the audience, share with your colleagues when you can the work that you're doing in that team and what impact it may be having on your practices. I would also, if you go to our website, we have we have a video from a webinar we just did with a faculty member from Colorado, psychology, where she actually showed her before and after data by race and ethnicity. After she she changed her syllabus, she changed her assignments, she changed how she related to students and so forth. So that's a really good example. Okay, so I provided you, so now for you, you're gonna start classes next week, right? So did you see this institutional agent self-assessment? It was at the table at the very beginning, at the entrance, I'm sorry. And so hopefully you have it, or if not, share with someone else. And these statements come from actually our scholarly work on institutional agents. And so, like, if you look at the first one, I routinely share the tricks of studying for a test with my students. Does that make sense to you? Like, I share the tricks. So, yeah, right. I mean, and in particular, and math faculty here, I'm sure they know that there are tricks for studying for a math test and doing well. But often, that kind of knowledge remains hidden from students because we may assume that they know how to study for a test. Do you agree, or? Yeah. So that's knowledge that we have, and it's important to make it transparent. Did anybody say that they do that frequently? Some of you. Okay. So maybe one of the things that you might want to resolve is to do this in all of your classes, to make it part of your instruction. The second one, which I know may be more difficult for you, at the start of the semester, I invite each student to meet with me for half an hour to have an informal conversation about their experiences. Now, this shows the bias of a faculty member from a research university who has the luxury of having much smaller classes than you do. So one of the ways, though, in which you can get to know your students is James Gray, the math professor that I mentioned earlier. What he does is he gets to his class 30 minutes early. And the reason he lets students know that he's going to be there 30 minutes earlier, and he uses that time as a way of getting to know those students who come in at that time. On the first day of my class, which will be next week, I'm also getting ready, what I do is, now I teach PhD students, but you know what? They also need to be seen and valued and validated. So on the first day of class, rather than first going through the syllabus, what I tell them is they have to bring an artifact. And I teach qualitative methods, so artifact fits into that rhetoric. So an artifact that it represents something important about themselves, about their lives. And they each get, 5 minutes or less to present the artifact to the rest of the class. And that way, they feel the freedom to say something about their own life. And I have had incredibly moving experiences in that exercise. One student who her colleagues, even though they knew each other, did not know that she was gay. And so she used the artifact activity to bring a photo of her engagement to her partner. And it was a way in which she then came out to them. And it was very, very moving. Another student, many of my students in my class are very privileged. They come from wealthy backgrounds. They have gone to Ivy League colleges, but not all. And I had a Latino student who had started his education at Pierce Community College. And in order to be able to share with his more privileged colleagues his different background, he brought the graduation robe from Pierce College to tell them how he had gone to Pierce, transfer, and so forth. So those are some of the things that you can do. And in the sheet, you have many more items. And what I would suggest is two things. One, think about how you might be able to do these in relation to your students. And I realize that there are counselors and staff here, and that I am addressing mostly faculty. And why am I doing that? Because students spend the most time that they spend in a college is with faculty. So the role of faculty has to be not only about passion for the subject, but it has to be also passion for students, and to get more students to go on and transfer and get the baccalaureate degree, because we need to do that. So the one thing the last things that I wanted to say is that it's important to also learn students' names. I always hear from students how either faculty members confused, as a Latina, I have been confused, and how, getting back to the being seen, names are a way, right? So one of the things that you can do is you can actually create name tags for your class and have the students write their names phonetically so that way you can pronounce them correctly. And it's a great way of getting to being able to either not distort names or to try to change their names, shorten them, you know, and so forth. So that's a good way. The other one is in this new in this new environment of multiple genders, one of the things that you can do in those name tags is ask students to include their preferred pronouns. Now, as you saw, I am ancient. I went to high school in the 60s. So for me to say, you know, she, her, hers, at first was a little awkward. But I am going to do this in my own class this semester because I realize that is important. So the other thing that I would like to say is review your syllabus. Would a Latina see herself in your syllabus? Would a Black male see himself, a Native American? That's really important also because it's a way of being valued and seen. The syllabus has to also have the presence of the students that you teach. And I guess the other thing I would say, and you know, looking at you, I have a feeling that this audience is very progressive and that maybe that much of what I'm saying may be things that you already know and you're doing. So you can correct me when I'm done. But I would say get out of your comfort zone, and if you haven't already done so, you know, make the point of reading the works of people like, I don't know, James Baldwin. There was just a great documentary on I'm Not Your Negro. Bell Hooks, Gloria Anzaldúa, Eduardo Bonilla Silva, Kimberly Crenshaw, Ibrahim Kendi, who won the National Book Award for his book, you know, Stamped from the Beginning, which, you know, I said before, we haven't been taught to be equity-minded. Well, to become equity-minded, we need to know the history of enslavement. And his book, you know, Marked from the Beginning, is an excellent starting point. Listen to the music of Kendall Lamar. You know, he just won the Pulitzer. And if we want to understand what is going on, you know, that's a good way of doing it. And then I would say, go see Spike Lee's Black Klansman. It's a really good movie. It's probably one of his best. So I want to end, because this might be in your minds, that I recognize and accept that race is a socially constructed category. I know that. And however, as Eduardo Bonilla Silva points out, race is socially constructed, right? But it has a social reality, meaning that it produces real effects on the actors, racialized actors, I mean people, as Black or white. So I will end it there, and I wish you a wonderful semester and year, and I am really happy that the center is working with you. I'm also eager to hear more about the math instructor who's a DJ and has math jam sessions. I heard about that. And the last thing I will say is, when I was checking out of the Marriott today, this morning, the receptionist, she knew that I was coming here because I needed a taxi. And she said to me, I go there. I'm a student there. And so I asked her, what is it like? And she said, oh, it's great. I love it. Yeah. So thank you. And I don't know, Sophia, or whether you, do you want me to answer any questions? Do you want me to walk out?
We definitely don't want you to walk out. Are there any questions?
Or objections?
Well, hearing none, let's give Dr. Vincent Munna a round of applause.
Thank you. Thank you.
I hope that was the sexual harassment.
Thank you again, and we appreciate you all being here. We appreciate everyone who has been involved with today's planning. We are going to take a brief break, but I'd like to make an appeal before we take a break that I'm counting every single person who is in here, and we would make an appeal that you return because we have a performance after the break from our great dance department under the leadership of Terry Wilson and Dr. Jen. And so we would appreciate if you would return. We're going to take a 10-minute break. Please feel free to return afterwards. Thank you all. And before we break, I forgot to mention and send a shout out for those who are watching online. We are webcasting this. It'll be available for replay this time. And that's thanks to Sean and Eric, Majda, and Rob's team. So thank you all very much. We'll break.
One day, when the glory comes, it will be ours. It will be ours. Oh, one day, when the war is won, we will be strong. We will be strong. Oh, glory. Glory. Oh, Lord. Hands to the heavens, no man, no weapon. Formed against, yes, glory is destined. Everyday women and men become legends. Sins that go against our skin become blessings. The movement is a rhythm to us. Freedom is like religion to us. Justice is juxtaposition in us. Justice for all, just ain't specific enough. One son died, the spirit is revisiting us. True and living in us. Resistance is us. That's why Rosa sat on the bus. That's why we walk through Ferguson with our hands up. When it go down, we women and man up. They say stay down, and we stand up. Shots be on the ground. The camera panned up. King pointed to the mountaintop, and we ran up. One day, when the glory comes, it will be ours. It will be ours. Oh, now the war is over. Victory is won. We'll fight on to we win so long. Glory, glory, now for every man, woman, and child. Even Jesus got his crown in front of the crowd. They march with the torch, we gon' run with it now. Never look back, we done gone hundreds of miles. From dark roads, heroes, to become a hero. Facing the league of justice, his power was the people. Enemy is lethal, a king became regal. Some cases you fall under all evil. Under in the war, elders and young people, energy. Welcome to the story we call victory. The coming of the Lord, my eyes have seen the glory. One day, when the glory comes, it will be ours. It will be ours.
Let's give a round of applause for Terry Wilson, Dr. Grace. Dr. Grace is somewhere with the dancers, and you may be wondering, why did we have our dance program as part of Convocation? Well, we know that at San Diego City College, there are a number of great programs, activities that engage our students, and when our students are engaged, they're more likely to complete because they're committed to our faculty, our classified professionals. And so this notion of an ultimate student experience is both exciting and comes along with a certain level of accountability. And so we use the dance program as an example of what the potential is when our faculty, our classified professionals, our administration commit to our students. They're vested, they're engaged, they're committed, and they complete. And so today it'll be about a clear vision of the ultimate student experience. As a community college, we know this is absolutely about teaching and learning, and that teaching and learning happens both in the classroom as well as outside of the classroom. And it bursts academic excellence, but it's rooted in access and it's rooted in equity. You heard that today. We need to be equity minded. I aspire to be equity minded in every sense of the word. And we do that by providing our students with support so that they complete. And as I was preparing to apply to be the president of this great college, I came into the understanding of the concept of environmental stewardship. That's so powerful that we are stewards of not only the environment, but of our students and the public will. And you heard today the importance of enrollment management in this changing world that we live in. How many people like change? You all are lying. I drive the same way home every single day, and I could do it in my sleep. But some of us do like change, and I envy those who like change. We're going to talk about enrollment management and the change that is occurring in our state, and it's a rapid pace, and I'm not comfortable with the change. And I'm not the only one who's not comfortable with the change. And as a community college, this is absolutely about attracting and retaining talent. You're going to meet the new faculty, the classified professionals that we've had an opportunity to hire. Some of them were adjuncts. Some of them have traveled from outside of the country, from the East Coast. But they're joining a family of professionals who are absolutely committed to student success and student equity. But this is about teaching and learning. And there's so many wonderful things taking place. I mean, you heard an engaged conversation with our colleague from Q, and I commend those faculty and those classified professionals that are working with Q to redesign our curriculum so that it's equity-minded, project-based. We know that we have a Title V Hispanic Serving Institution grant, and we know that the state has implemented AB 705 that ultimately eliminates basic skills. And while I don't agree with the way that this was implemented, when you look at the data, the number of students who start 2 levels, 3 levels, 4 levels below transfer, and those that make it to transfer, we all should be alarmed. Because our students are coming to us expecting that we help them reach their goals. And so they come to us and they're resilient, and they meet a group of faculty and classified professionals and administrators who are also equally resilient. And so we have to maintain amongst the change a respect for our core values. Social justice is a part of our values. Strength in our diversity. When I look across this crowd of participants attending today, I see a diverse group of people in every sense of the word, not just racially or culturally, but in every sense of the term. We'll remain transparent as we go through these challenges because, frankly, we need to have some very real and tough discussions about budget and persistence and completion and the rates in which our students access this dream called an education. But we'll always maintain academic excellence, career pathways, and we know that city represents grit. Our students come with grit, our faculty, our classified professionals possess grit. And that's how we assist our students in closing these achievement gaps. At the end of the day, we just love students. This has to be about loving students because many of us spend a lot of hours both on the campus and outside of the campus helping students. But there are some very real barriers to student success, particularly in a climate where students have options. They don't have to come to us. And in fact, our student headcount is decreasing, not because we're doing anything wrong, but because the economy is thriving and people are having to make a value judgment between coming to college and working so that they can take care of their families. And so I'm advocating that we offer our instructional programs in a way that people can access our great faculty, our great programs, certificates, degrees. And that may mean taking our courses off-site. That may mean more online classes. That may mean offering classes here at City at times that students actually want to take classes because they're working. Many of them, I'm hearing our stories, are working 2, 3, 4 jobs. It is expensive, folks, to live in San Diego. I'm still trying to wrap my mind around what it costs to live in San Diego. And so customer service is so important because we have one opportunity to win over a student. And when they come, they don't say, are you instruction or are you student services? They say, can you help me? And in that help, are you the type of person who says, you know what, that's not my department, go over there? The fact of the matter, particularly the way our campus is set up, they may never make it over there. Literally, they may just go straight to the trolley station and say, the heck with this. Are you the type of person that says, you know what? Don't just go over there. I'm going to walk you over there and go see this person when you get there. Those are the type of stories that we need our students to tell when they go back to Marriott where they work, so that they can encourage other students, potential students, to come and experience this ultimate student experience. So customer service can be a barrier. But as I look across this crowd, I know that these are my colleagues who help and love students. Our website is a barrier. I'm happy to report, though, we just hired a new web developer. Victor, are you in the audience? Victor? So our new web developer is in the back. His first day on the job, he did a SWOT analysis of our website. In complete transparency, our new site is superior to our current site, but it's not ready to go live. We're probably another 3 to 4 months, and he's going to work hard to make sure that our new site is up. But our current site, we know that there's roughly 40 to 50,000 people go to our website a month. And what they're telling us is they're not finding the things they need to find. But I also have to say this, our website is for students, it's not for us. And so when we develop it, we have to develop it from an equity-minded standpoint, but we also have to develop it from a student-friendly standpoint. Can the students find the things that they need to find? The ERP scares me. But I know that it's an opportunity. Long term, we know the ERP project, moving to PeopleSoft, is the right thing to do. It will help our college. It will help our students. But they say moving to a new student information system is equivalent to death. Need I say any more? other than we know that our students are facing some challenges as we've rolled out the financial aid module. Anyone in here working on ERP, if you're working on ERP, please stand up. Thank you for your dedication and your service for working on ERP. Many of our colleagues working on the ERP have been gone from our campus 2 years, 3 years. I think the longest I've heard is 6 years. We want you to come home. It's time to come home. And so thank you for your dedication working on the ERP. It is both an opportunity and a challenge, a barrier. Food insecurity, and I would add housing, is a barrier. Many of our students are homeless. Many of them are hungry. And thank you to every single person who contributes financially out of your hard-earned money to our food pantry. Thank you. And thank you to those faculty who run the food pantry. You know, I'm honored that we have visitors daily, monthly, weekly, and the food pantry is absolutely one of the places that I take honor to take our visitors. And I say not only do our faculty, staff, administrators donate to our food pantry so that our students can have a meal, but this is a part of our instructional program. Right? Our students are running a business and learning how to run a business under the advisement of our great faculty. We're one of the very few colleges in the country that run our food pantry as an academic program. And ultimately, we need more safe spaces for our students. You heard from our speaker that we are living during a time that students have different experiences than the experiences we may have gone through. As I look in this room, there are baby boomers, there are Xers, there are millennials, and then there are those who are younger than the millennials. We are living in a time where there are 4, sometimes 5 generations in the same space at the same time. So just saying this is the way I did it isn't going to work. But taking time to understand the lived experiences of our students, of our employees, of our faculty is going to help us address these barriers. Being flexible, folks. This is not the time to be rigid because students have options. They will go other places. Throughout the state, you already heard from our chancellor that 3/4 of the community colleges are experiencing some type of declining enrollment. We are so fortunate that we have a great board, we have a great chancellor, we have a great union, and we work collaboratively to address these challenges. It's no single person's fault. We have to do this collaboratively. We have to be flexible in the modality in which we offer our programs and our instructional programs. Because the economy is better right now, but it's not going to always be this way. And so funding is something that we have to have a conversation about in terms of this new funding formula, and I'll come to that a little later. But environmental stewardship, I want to congratulate those who are involved in our urban farm. Let's give them a round of applause for celebrating their 10th year anniversary. Who would have thought of putting a farm in the middle of the city? Right? City, as someone said. We know under the leadership of Marciano and his great team in student affairs that we have a week of service in Chicano Park. Thank you to those. Our cosmetology program, I can't say enough. I go to the fair, they're there. I go to Comic-Con, they're there. I go to homeless areas in the city, and they're there. The students in that program and the faculty in that program are absolutely stewards of our community. And I've already talked about the food pantry and fantastic. But let me expand on this understanding and the definition of stewardship. And here's a great saying: nothing belongs to us. We're only caretakers of what it is. And so we've got a social responsibility to live within our means, making tough decisions, No one likes canceling classes. I didn't get into this line of work to cancel classes. And so we have to be flexible in our approaches to instruction. And more importantly, we have to be innovative. Our students require and demand that we become and remain innovative. And so there's this number out there, 10,000 FTES. That is a number that we need to keep at the core of our dialogues, because that allows us to stay a medium-sized college. So let me provide you with an enrollment update. You've already heard about the new funding formula, so I won't go into that. Last year, our FTES target was 10.6, which was pretty aggressive in an environment of declining enrollment for all the reasons that we said. And I commend the deans, I commend the chairs, commend the faculty for being flexible and doing everything that you could for us to achieve that target, that goal. But the reality is that we didn't hit it, and we weren't alone in that. 3/4 of the colleges in the state didn't achieve their target. So we actually came in at 10.2. There are implications there. I'm not going to talk about the financial implications because I don't want to send the message that it's doomsday, because it's not. And it's not because we're in a district with a great board, a great chancellor, great employees, and who have made sound financial decisions, choices, planning, so that we really don't need to talk about the implications. But we do need to say that as you look at the chart, our enrollment is going down. And we've got to figure out ways to remain above 10,000 so that we can maintain that medium-sized college. Now, I'll also say this. I love competition. I'm a former college athlete, college actor. The older I get, the better I was. In my mind, anyways. But in the spirit of competition, I've been very impressed about the positive competition amongst the colleges. And let me just put this out there. Miramar's numbers counter this. And so we really need to be mindful in a college, in a district with multiple colleges, that we have to maintain our number, because that really facilitates our ability to hire faculty, classified professionals, and access the resources that are available to us. And that's all I'll say on that for today. But we need to be mindful of how each of the colleges are tracking. And kudos to our colleagues at Miramar. So let's talk targets. For 2018-19, our FTES goal is 10.4. And so we have to pivot now, because we know that there is a new funding formula in which we receive our funds from the state. It's not strictly built on FTES. So there's not a motivation to go chasing FTES. Now we have to maintain our head count, because you all are doing such a great job at getting students to complete, right? We've had the largest commencements in the history of the school. But what happens as you focus on completion, that means more students are leaving for the right reasons, but you've got to have students behind them to replace them. And so we're looking at high demand courses, and there's some amazing programs that are filling their courses, that have wait lists for courses. We're having conversations about high demand courses, online courses, off-site courses, concurrent enrollment. I'm saying all of these things to say, if you have ideas, we would love to have a conversation of how do we promote programs and not courses. Because a student who comes to complete a program is more likely to take different courses, particularly those in and outside of their major. We've had a reorg, and we're in the process of hiring an associate dean of outreach and school relations. I want to thank Catherine, who was here, for serving in that capacity. She has absolutely done a wonderful job with concurrent enrollment. Let's give her a round of applause. Thank you, Catherine. And to her nursing colleagues, let me say that she had every intention of going back because she loves teaching nurses. But Manu, by way of me and us, bade Catherine And thank you for responding. That shows how much she loves the college and loves students. She does an amazing job. We need to find someone to occupy that position who has some Catherine-like characteristics. And she's joking, but she's not joking. We also are hiring a new outreach coordinator because we need to pivot in terms of our approach to outreach. We do an amazing job of working with the high schools, but there's an opportunity to do an even more amazing job working with our community, churches, faith-based, nonprofits. And so we need to hire an individual who understands the high school component, but also understands that there's a population of people 22 and older who may be working in a job that they really don't like, earning money that isn't allowing them to take care of their family. And so we need someone in the outreach area who will allow us to connect with individuals who need to experience our world-class education. We are increasing our marketing in Southeast. What you see behind me are three ads that are running in Southeast San Diego. Anyone has heard me speak say, you know, as I've been traveling Southeast San Diego, I never saw anything that said San Diego City College. And so now we have ads in the trolley stations, we have bus bench ads, and in the business corridor Southeast over where the Jacobs Center, we have these banners on the pole, and that's all because of the great design of Kim and the work of Edgar. But not just that, I want to thank Candace and Sean, who are working with us on branding. I'm convinced that San Diego City College has such wonderful faculty and classified professionals that any challenge we have, the answer is already in this room. And so we're working with you all to help us figure out ways to rebrand the college. We have to rebrand City College to answer this next question. What is City College known for? And certainly we want people in the community, and they already know that we're known for excellence in teaching and learning. They know that we're known for social justice and transfer and career education and this ultimate student experience. But at the end of the day, we need to make sure that our community knows that the people in this room and the people on this campus are known for inspiring students to accomplish their educational goals. And so we need your help. We need your help sharing City. And so there's a bunch of major initiatives. Many of them you've already heard about. We're going to introduce to you our coordinators who are working on our open educational resources, the new website. You've heard all of this stuff. Let's go to the next slide. But let me talk a little bit about this talent acquisition. I'd like to introduce Paula, who is our new professional development coordinator. Paula, if you would. So we're so happy to have Paula here. I think this is her second week. We have a number of your colleagues, Masha, who's going to be serving as the Guided Pathways coordinator. I think I saw him somewhere. Oh, he's in the back waving. Thank you. Certainly Sandra and Arnie are serving as the OER coordinator. So there's a number of initiatives coming forward, and it's the people in this room who are going to make these initiatives come into existence. We are hiring. I promise to deliver you a permanent vice president of instruction. But I also promise you this, we should not settle, right? And so I'm happy to report that we are either in the process or have hired 13 new faculty. If you're a new faculty member, would you stand up, please? Welcome to the San Diego City College family. I know Manu is going to introduce them again and give you positions. I hope you feel the same thing that I felt the first time I walked into this auditorium, and that energy that is City, because you are joining an amazing group of professionals that are absolutely dedicated to student success. And as we transition into our new professional development coordinator, I'm happy to report that with the aid of Dr. Sophia Lauren, who deserves a round of applause also. Oh no, I thought, oh, we can do better than that, please. That we've expanded our onboarding for new employees from a semester to a year, and we've brought together our classified professionals and our faculty so we can have discussions around equity and success and completion and how do I get from one building to the next and everything that goes along with being a new employee. And all of that happened under the leadership of Sophia. And so lastly, an accreditation update, because this is something that we're still facing. I appreciate, I think I saw Aaron in the audience somewhere. Aaron, thank you for your service and assisting with accreditation. Under the leadership of Dr. Susan Murray and her team, who's our accreditation liaison officer. Folks, we do have an accreditation visit coming on November 7th. We are well positioned. Thank you for to everyone who assisted with Task Stream and ILOs and SLOs. Accountability, accreditation is something that we live with. It isn't going away. And so we're very well positioned for this follow-up report. You see the timeline there. We'll be sending that out to you all. I'm also happy to report that we were selected to have a visit, and this actually happened in discussions with Justin when he was the Academic Senate president. We have too many committees. All right. Some of you are serving on 14 committees. I don't know how you can do that and do your work. Nisha just gave an amen, right? And so we're fortunate to have a team coming in from IEPI, the partnership resource team that will be looking at our committee and governance structure to see, can we streamline some of these committees? Is there duplication? Is there a need? And so they'll be coming on October 1st, the first time, and then they'll be revisiting us with an analysis and a recommendation on December 2nd. So these are some important timelines that we wanted to make sure you were aware of. And then lastly, I am so honored to work with three amazing professionals who do an amazing job of advocating for you all, our students, our college, our community. Dr. Minu Spradley is serving as our acting vice president of instruction. Let's give her a round of applause. I've been so impressed with Minu. I want to publicly thank her for agreeing to serve. And folks, there is a huge transition for those of you in the audience who aspire to be a dean, a vice president, or a president. Let me tell you and assure you that there is a huge transition going from a dean over a school or area to being over the entire instructional program of the college. And Manu, you have done a wonderful job. Thank you very much.
You guys rock. Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. It's a joy seeing all of you. Some of us were here all summer, although I got 2 weeks in Alaska. I got to see Denali and 12 bears, 12 grizzly bears from a bus. And that's as close as I want to get to grizzly bears. But anyway, lots of mosquitoes. But we had an amazing time. So I'm hoping that somewhere this past summer, you had the chance to relax, rejuvenate, and have come back re-energized. I will do my best to introduce our faculty at the barbecue personally so that you guys get to meet them. But I'm very proud of all of the hard work we did with all of our deans, all of our higher committees. Some of you worked during the summer, and we have all of our new faculty. Our music faculty, I believe, is on his way from New Orleans. So I'm not sure whether he's here yet. And we're still waiting on our librarian. We had our interview with our librarian on Monday. The week's running away from me, but I believe on Monday. So shortly, we hope to have a librarian on board, and folks are also working on our 2 new counselors to come on board. So the ultimate student experience, I'm going to discuss mostly in terms of enrollment management, what we do for student support, and of course, a lot of our PD professional development for our faculty support. We started our new hire institute on Wednesday. We had a wonderful morning, both for faculty and classified professionals, and we will continue throughout the semester. So let's talk a little bit about who put that picture in there? Okay, so let me tell you guys a story. Who knows what League of Legends is? Let me see some hands, because every time I've talked about this, I've seen like, oh, Lisa, why am I not surprised to see your hand up? And is that you, Shane, back there? Okay. So, nobody else. Okay, Bradford. All right. So, let's have the next slide for me, please. Why am I talking to you about this? It's because I'm a parent of a 13-year-old. So, if you don't know about League of Legends, you have been left behind. Because this is a fast-paced game to which we went to view this game with our 13-year-old at Riot Games in LA to an esports arena. How many of you have ever been to an esports arena? So, next slide for me, please. So, just so you know, this is an amazing place that we went to, and look at the numbers here. My numbers are old, but look at, as of September 2016, 100 million active players each month, not a year, each month. We went to see 10 professional teams sponsored by everything from the Houston Rockets to the Golden State Warriors, supported a team of 5 players each. The players were from all over the world, and we spent 5 hours watching something that my husband and I did not understand, but my 13-year-old was having a wonderful time. This morning I was talking to Misael, and he was saying that his son is interested in becoming a what do you call it? He set up all his room to stream while he's playing. Do you know how much money people make doing that? Yeah? Okay, so I'm a baby boomer, and I have a 13-year-old that I'm trying to understand because, and I'm privileged to be in this space because my kid is telling me about what the future is going to be like. And as an educator, I better be prepared for that because they're all coming here to us and we are woefully behind in our understanding of what our young people want, what they need, and where they're going. However, in this room, there is more experience and more education than in most other spaces. And I am absolutely certain that the ideas for how to move forward, how to innovate, and how to keep us relevant are in this room. So as always, my door and my email box are open to your ideas and your innovations, and it will be my job as best as I can to get us to yes. Next slide, please. So here's why I am talking about this. These data come from the district office, and they are as of the 8th of August. Notice that our enrollment for the fall of 2018 are down. These are head counts only, but notice that our other colleagues are in the same spot. But I want you to look at our online-only classes. Notice that all three colleges are up in the head count in enrollment in those areas. That's partly because we are increasing our online classes, but those are the ones that fill fast. I've taught online, I've taken a class online. I don't like it, but our new people do. Our new young people, they do. So again, bring us your ideas. Next, please. So I am not sure how visible this is, but these are data collected by our enrollment management team here on campus, Claire and Susan's office. What we did is we surveyed last spring students that were enrolled in the spring of 2018, and we also managed to survey students that had left us at the end of fall 2017. So I want you to take a pretty close look at these data, and I'm only going to talk about the first 3 bars. The schedule of classes matters to 90% of our students. In other words, when we offer things, how we offer them, things like that. Whether or not the class meets their degrees and certificate requirements is very important to them, and whether or not the course is online or in person. Those are the top 3. Okay, and if I may point to the note at the bottom, among students who reporting online, they're taking only online classes, 86% of them selected the most important factor about being whether the course is online or not. And so currently about 8% of our enrolled students take fully online courses. Of those who left us after the fall of 2017, 21% of them said that they would only come back if their class that they were interested in was offered online. Okay. So here's some of the student voices that we captured. This is not all of them, but these are some of our students' voices that we captured during our surveying and collection of data. And with the top statement, I want you to pay a close attention to the bold statement. If the book is more than $80, the student is not going to take the class. So the cost of textbooks matters a great deal. The time of day matters. Whether it's online or not matters to our students. Okay. Now, why does branding matter? This statement by one of our graduating students makes me sad. Okay. So the way I was told at my school was that city was for people who didn't get into 4 years, who weren't good enough for 4 years. Okay. When the person came here, they saw that that was not us. But that's what the perception that is out there. And it isn't just a perception about City College, it is a perception about community colleges in general. So what do we stand for? What is our brand? What is it going to go out there that lets people know, both at our high schools, the parents, everything, that we are definitely good enough for anybody who walks through our doors, and we have the expertise, we have the knowledge, we have the buildings, we have the equipment to rival any 4-year. I wouldn't come here every day if I didn't believe that. So let's talk a little bit about textbook costs. You can see here some of our other students' comments. I know that we try to make an effort in choosing things that are less expensive that our publishers produce, but our students hate those loose leaf binder things that we give them, mainly because they fall apart and they can't resell them. So our efforts this year are to introduce you all to open educational resources. Ricky gave you some information already about our co-chairs. You see our task force there. This is a partnership with OpenStax. OpenStax is one repository for open educational resources. This repository is located at Rice University. As a matter of fact, many of the repositories for open educational resources are at the other four-year institutions. Open educational resources are free to you, free to your students, and you can do the following with them. You can retain your information if you are an author. You can reuse any material available as an open educational resource. You can revise it, you can reorder, you scramble it and take stuff from multiple sources and put them together. That's the remix, and you can redistribute it. Okay, so in order to provide you with an incentive, we want you to explore textbooks. We are going to provide a minuscule stipend for those of you who are willing to try. Arnie is going to be outside. There is a big handout for that you can learn more about, but there is going to be an orientation, and our committee is going to select at the minimum 10 folks that are willing to meet the conditions here or do what we asked them as part of our partnership with OpenStax to introduce you to open educational resources with the hope that you would be willing to adopt one of those resources. Okay. The other thing I want to introduce you to is e-tutoring or online tutoring. I worked with all three tutorial centers, Lance, Chris, and Tracy, to discuss what sorts of online tutoring we currently have available. And the English Center has considerable amount of online tutoring for our students available that works beautifully. But many of our subjects don't have that. For example, we are having a really hard time, for example, someone tutoring accounting or someone tutoring physics. Okay, so the e-tutoring consortium is a Western United States consortium that has at least 2 other community colleges in our regions, both MiraCosta and Southwestern, are part of this consortium. We contribute about 5 hours of tutoring a week to the consortium, and our tutors get trained to be part of the consortium. So we have multiple subjects. We have 7 days worth of tutoring, early morning to very late in the evening, and it complements our tutoring availability for our students. This is, again, something that in talking to students and our student panels has been something that our students have wanted. So Lance, are you still here? He left, but oh, you're way in the back. I can't see anything in the back over there. So Lance has the information for you as to how your students can log on. This can be as part of your Blackboard or outside of Blackboard. Currently, our students have to self-register until we're done with the ERP stuff, and then hopefully we can start doing a batch upload. He has a bunch of bookmarks outside that you can take, a bookmark that gives you the instructions how to enroll. No, before I give you an update on strong workforce, I have a note here that I forgot to include the guided pathway as one of our most important things that we are doing this year. Thank you, Masa. There will be a forum for the guided pathway on next Friday, 8/24, starting at 9 a.m. in MS 162. The invitation will be coming soon. This is co-sponsored by the AFT, and it is an open discussion on what you do and don't know about guided pathway and how you feel the college it should need to move forward and essentially exchange ideas. So let's talk a little bit about Strong Workforce. How many of you know anything about our Strong Workforce program? Good, there's a few hands up. Okay. The state of California is spending a great deal of money on Strong Workforce initiatives at City College by shared governance process. There's 9 CTE programs that you see up there are being supported by our Strong Workforce program. This includes anything from curriculum redesign to other types of support. I think that the next one is my last slide. Yeah. So the goals of the Strong Workforce are to have higher enrollment in our CTE programs, to have better curriculum by having our industry advisors regularly visit us and let us know whether our curriculum meets their needs. And finally, and most importantly, and that's where we are this year, this is our 3rd year, it has to do with job placement. Are our students actually getting a job in the area in which they received the certificate? And the list of metrics for this particular program is enormous in that we have to report on those. So that's a very, very brief overview of some of the things that we have been doing, some of the things that we're bringing on board for this year. As I said before, my office door and my inbox is always open. I want to hear your ideas. I want to hear where you're thinking we should go. What should we do to meet our students' needs? So please feel free. Next, I would like to introduce, please give Roxanne a big, I don't want to embarrass my colleague here, but she hasn't done this before, so be kind to her.
Thank you. Manu is very right. So I'm great at a couple things. That's basketball and budget, not public speaking. So bear with me. Right, there's exciting things going on at City College. If you haven't noticed, those big, beautiful buildings, the A, D, and T building, they look wonderful if you haven't had a chance to walk by them. They're almost done. I'm sure you guys are happy. Those that are in swing space right now that want to get back to your new locations. And that's going to start this upcoming fall. We should have keys to the building somewhere in the end of September, and we'll be moving throughout fall with completion somewhere around January 2019. Child Development Center, there's designs that have been built. They look amazing. As you can see, it's very different from what we have now. It makes me sad because I wish my kids would have been there when it looked like that. And talking about the ultimate student experience, I was a student here at City College, and now I'm sitting here in front of some of my instructors that probably don't even realize that I was one of their students in their classes some years ago. So it's an honor and privilege to be a City College student and also now a City College representative all the way through. I recommend this college to everyone. I'm a peer. I'm a student ambassador. I go out in our community. I am a product of this community. So I'm very proud to be not only a student college student, former student, but also a student college employee. All right, so RAC, So we wrapped up the resource allocation committee for 17-18. You guys will be getting your 18-19 allocation letters very soon. I know you guys are very eager to have those letters, and I promise to get them to you as soon as possible. We're in the middle of budget development. So that's just when we're transitioning to a new year. We will wrap that up soon, and you guys will get the information you need in order to, you know, progress through the year and provide things for our students and the things that we need on campus. State budget updates. So you've heard this several times today about the new formula that's coming out. I'm not gonna bore you anymore or make it any scarier than what it is, but we really don't know what it's about yet. So I think optimistically this will be a great thing for City College because we excel in our certificates and our degrees, and we are one of the colleges that are growing, and we will do good. So we do good work. We are a great group of people that will actually excel if this were to be a change. All right, so the ultimate student experience, it includes safety. We want our students to come here and be safe. I was one of the students that was here after work at night taking night classes. So I encourage you to actually promote this app. I use it, I have it on my phone. One of the great features of this app is one of the things that is called a safe walk. So I will literally pinpoint a location on my app, send my location to someone that I need to know that I'm getting safely to my car, and they'll know when I arrive. There's also a great feature where if there was something going on that concerned you, you can literally alert our campus police or different authorities, 911, directly from the app without making yourself a target or something known to be involved in a situation. It's very discreet. You can do it straight from your phone, text message. You can also record, send pictures. Right now we have approximately 1,200 users. That's growing. And I just ask that you make this information known to your students because it is something that we want them to experience here. We want them to feel safe. So this is available for them, and that's it. That's the ultimate experience here at City College. Now I have the honor and privilege of introducing our Vice President of Student Services, Denise Wisenhunt.
Didn't she kill it? She killed it. All right. So the first thing that I want to do is recognize two faculty in counseling, two new faculty. Andre Jones, as well, give it up to him. And Ahmed Adine, is he here? Or she? You left? Okay. And I was thinking this morning, they're really rainmakers. They've come in a very short period of time, have really become embedded in the City College culture and are making really meaningful differences for our students. And so I'm here representing the Student Services Division, and I'm going to talk a little bit about what's happening in student services. So as you think about student services, I want to just kind of remind you what our mission is, and sort of the cheat sheet of it all is that our mission is to inspire and empower and support our students. So that's something that's very top of mind for our Student Services Division, and we work really hard to inspire and empower our students. And so how do we do that? Like, how do we do it? One of the things that we do, you've heard me talk about SSSP. I just wanted to give you an idea of kind of the enormity of what's happening in counseling, EOPS, DSPS, the MESA program, all these contributors to SSSP. We did some like 30,994 SSSP contacts in just the spring semester alone. So that means educational planning, that means follow-up services, that means individual counseling. All of these efforts have been done to support our students. And I did want to do a shout out to the Student Affairs. I don't know if Marciano is here, but I want to let you know that Marciano serves some, is Marciano here? Okay. He's here in spirit. He's probably helping students right now. Definitely. He has a caseload last year of about 190 student conduct cases last year. Yeah, we're known to have the highest number. So when you see Marciano, tell him thanks. because that's huge, the work that they do. And they do it from an educational perspective, not a punitive perspective. That's something very important as we try to think about serving our students. Whenever possible, we try to do that within a social justice lens. Also, I just wanted to let you know, admissions, really the warriors that are in that room right now, shout out to admissions because I'm sure you're all helping students right now. Just in spring semester, no, since mid-July, some 6,194 students have gone through the doors of admissions. Yeah, so Student Services does a lot outside of the classroom to support our students, and we think that's very important. And like you, we want new real estate. So guess what? Can I tell you on a secret? Are you guys want to hear a secret? You want to hear it? We're moving. Yes, we're going to get out of your areas and we're going to go to the A building, and we are excited. So we're moving, and we're likely going to move in about mid-October, and we will all be in our new home. Some of us are already in beautiful homes like our student affairs office. And so we will be moving to our building, and we're excited. So when we moved, so when we were thinking about moving into our new building, it's like, I got a new car this year, and I'm really excited about my new car. I drove a 1970 yellow Firebird for years. I had a 1984 Volvo that would stop, and you guys know Gerald Ramsey. I called him a couple times. They were pushing my car to my job. And then And then I got this new car. And you know, the new car, I'm trying to wash my car a little bit more. I'm trying to work that back seat, make sure that the junk's not in it, right? And if you think about that, that's really an analogy of what we're trying to do in our new building. We're trying to rethink how we use our building and our facility. How do we serve our students? And in thinking about that, that's what really begat the ultimate student experience. It's sort of rethinking as we go into new real estate, how might we serve our students differently? And I really want to say, if there are any members of the Ultimate Student Experience Task Force, if you guys can stand up, the people in student services that have been working on it, go ahead. This team, co-chaired by Brianne Kennedy, who is faculty in DSPS, and I say co-chair loosely, basically run by Bree. Yes, thank you, Bree, yes. Meet regularly and think about how we do things differently. How do we connect with students differently? And our students are different, and you heard that a lot today, and I just want to give you an example because someone presented it to me this way when you think about it. We're in the evolution of experiences now, right? So back in like the agrarian society, if it was your birthday, they would go and cut the wheat, you know, and I don't know, like shuck the corn or whatever, and then they would make the cake, right, for your birthday, right? And you'd be like, ooh, my mama jams. You did all that for me. Like, that's fantastic, right? And so in the industrial society, a little post-industrial society, maybe mine, your mother might make like a Betty Crocker cake. Do you remember this? She put that frosting on. You might still do this. And then you would get the pin, the tail on the donkey. Do you remember that? You'd have that, and the pin, the tail on the donkey. And you had like the jam birthday party, right? Because you're like, I had a Betty Crocker cake, you know, it was just going on. Okay, so Raya's not going for that now. Students don't go for that's not the ultimate student experience for them. Now they go to places like Chuck E. Cheese, right? Right, they expect something wholly different than what you did. And you know what? Frankly, we should not provide to our students anything different than what we do in our own lives, right? Really, it's really about the golden rule when we think about this. Do unto others as we would want to be done. And that's really what we need to think about with our students. So when you go buy your cup of coffee, do you always go run into Vons and just pull that? No, you go to Starbucks and you give them that $4. The music's playing, got like the leather chairs in there. You know, you wait in a line like 2 blocks long to get a cup of coffee, and you spend $2.54, right? Because they got you, right? You do that, and then when you go and eat now, food is not the same. Like it's not just like a big pile of cafeteria food. The food's all pretty, has edible flowers on it. You're taking a picture. You're sending the picture out, right? Because this is the evolution of experiences. And the students that you work with, they are involved in experiences. They come to City and they want an experience. I met a fantastic student, soon-to-be student Craig today, and he told me, that, hi Craig, he told me this morning, he said, what really connected to me to education was this faculty member in high school. I think her name was Dee Dee Morrison, right? And he really talked about that individual attention that he got. And as we think about the ultimate student experience, that's really what we're trying to do, right? We're trying to rethink how we serve students to be more intentional and to maximize the resources before us. So there's sort of like a 4-pillar focus, and I'm going to just kind of give you a really brief highlight. One is that we are rethinking our mission and values. Each area is doing some very intentional work in how we serve our students. Just yesterday, our Office of Student Development, anybody from the Office of Student Development here? Yes, yep, that's you too, Erin. Yes, yes, yes. Yes, all of you in student development spent time engaging in how you do business, how you serve our students, how you support our students. Our DSPS office has done the same, and every division is looking, yes, as a unit, but also individually, how we look at our mission, values, and directions of our area. And of course, if Susan's here, connecting it to program review too. We're doing that, yeah, okay. And then we're also doing research. We're looking at the data. And we had a professional development with about 100, we've trained about 140 people about helping them to understand what the ultimate student experience is. And it's a lot of fun stuff. That's what engagement is about. So we understand that this mission, and I was reminded in the evaluations, that the ultimate student experience can't just be about the student, it's about our own self journey. So let's think about that, but having fun along the way and how we impact our students. And I also was told in the evaluations that we need a theme song. Ricky, we need a theme song for the ultimate student experience. Yeah? Okay, all right, cool, thanks. All right, and then just some of the efforts that we're gonna take on this year. We're gonna do city talks, kind of like TED Talks, little short talks on different topics. We have some good ones in mind. Lots of professional development, and of course we want our faculty to be engaged in that too. And I wanna do a shout out to Anna Rogers, because she's been a part, yes, of our Student Services Council. And she really keeps us focused too. It's like, okay, but how are we going to get the faculty involved? Like, how are they going to be a part of it? So she's been fantastic. And so again, as I say, we've really been focusing on our individual areas, be it counseling, categorical, student affairs, student health, really thinking about how we serve our students. And then there are a lot of statewide initiatives, and I know I've talked to you over the years about several different statewide initiatives, but I want you to just know this, that process of SSSP, that student equity program, as well as BSI, has been consolidated with an aim towards guided pathways, and that's called SEA, that student equity advancement, and you're going to hear more about that, just as we're going to hear more about that. And then also there's something, and I also want to say the committee, the SSIC committee that oversees those different areas, and looking at data, you'll hear more about our focus on transfer and course completion, knowing that those are two areas this college, while we do a really good job, can do much better. You heard some really good suggestions today from Dr. Ben Simone, and it's really hope that we'll all take that back into our classrooms and in our practices. AB 19, you heard the chancellor talk a little bit about the Promise program. We've gone from a program of 200 students to about 600. Shout out to Liz Vargas and her team and the work that she's doing with our second year students now. We have about 150 students in our second year component. So there's a lot of work that's being done there. And then additional students from last year that are going to be pulled into that program. And then also just the good work that's happening in AB 705. And that's really the idea, that's the efforts that are being done in regards to assessment. And that's really a student service and instruction partnership. Highlighted current and new grants. So since the last time that I've talked to you, we got a foster youth grant. That's huge. That's huge. So we will be providing additional services, intentional services in the way of caseload management, and for some students, not caseload management, to support them in their student success. So we're really, 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 really excited about that. And shout out to the EOPS director, Beverly Warren, who's really moving that forward. The campus mental health grant, we have written some grants this year. Campus mental health grant. which is huge. That's additional resources for campus mental health. We know that, and this is, I don't think there's any other program in the state that's doing it quite the way that we're doing it. This is a partnership with our family and continuing ed. We know that continuing ed is our #1 feeder of students into our school. We have about 1,000 students from continuing ed. And so we're doing a lot of mental health education awareness. So that's a new kind of innovation, and we're really proud of that. And that's special thanks to Leslie Easton and her crew. We got a veterans grant. We've been writing lots of grants. You know, I think about, like, I don't know if you guys remember, someone used to say, like, more money, more money. Okay, that's kind of what we're trying to do. So more money, more money. So we got a veterans grant, and that gives us additional money to help support our Veterans Resource Center. So that is huge. Working in partnership with Raphael, and Dora's doing great work. Yes, Raphael. Really trying to make sure that our students see themselves as always as creators, not as victims. So there's some really cool innovations that are happening there. Again, we have an Upward Bound on our campus. They were on our campus this summer. They were fantastic with their families. We had a great time really educating and promoting, the community college experience for these students. Title V, there's some great work there. And just I wanted to highlight, in the interest of times, I think, am I between lunch? Come on, go fast. Okay. In terms of the work that we're doing, there are a lot of integrated efforts that are happening. Again, there's a lot of good work that's happening at the Center for Urban Education, and you'll learn more. One thing that's really exciting about Title V this year is we're going to have our Subir 6, which is health, Chicano studies. A lot of key programs are going to be folded into some of the great work that's happening. So we are thrilled to kind of focus on that. And then this is just an outline of just some of the different programs. You know about them. And I also want to always implore you, when I'm in front of faculty, remember that there's that green information sheet. So please use that in the classroom. When you have students, the experience we know is holistic. To have the ultimate student experience, it's what they do in their academic environment, but also the supports. And that green form that was sent to you, it should be in all of your boxes, gives you that support. So with that said, I'm going to introduce you now back to our awesome president, Dr. Shabazz.
Thank you, Denise, and thank you to all of the vice presidents. Let's give them another round of applause. And give yourself a round of applause for staying the entire time. And to those watching via the webcast, I invite you to join us for lunch. There will be a raffle. We have been taking out faculty, staff, students for dinner and/or lunch. So there's a raffle to be able to do that. There is a professional development activity from 1:30 to 5. Again, thank you. I think in the interest of time, if you happen to have questions, I'll stick around. If there are questions for myself or the executive team, or you can approach us at the barbecue. Thank you all very much. Enjoy the rest of your day. Appreciate you all being here. Let's go have a great year.